U.S. President Donald Trump has sent conflicting messages on the war with Iran, saying it'll be over pretty quickly, but also adding that the U.S. hasn't won enough yet. He also said he talked to Russia's Putin about the Middle East, and said Moscow wants to be helpful. Global oil prices dropped, and U.S. stocks jumped in a dramatic reversal, as concerns over a prolonged conflict in the Middle East eased, and G7 countries signaled they could release strategic oil reserves. South Korea advanced to the quarterfinals of the World Baseball Classic for the first time in 17 years, after defeating Australia by 7-2 last night. The team is set to head to Miami for the quarterfinals taking place on Friday. Hello and thanks for joining us on Arirang News. We begin today with U.S. President Donald Trump's conflicting message on the Iran war. In a press conference, he said it'll be over pretty quickly, but added that Washington would strike Iran even harder if needed. He also said he talked to Russia's Putin about the Middle East and said Moscow wants to be helpful. Our Park Jun-an starts us off.
U.S. President Donald Trump on Monday told members of the press in Florida that the war with Iran is nearing its end and that it's the beginning of building a new country.
They were going to take over the Middle East and they were going to try and destroy Israel. So we stopped it with good timing, and we're very proud to be involved in this, and it's going to be ended soon. And if it starts up again, they'll be hit even harder.
Following a reporter's question about what he meant when he stated that the U.S. was already victorious but had not won enough, Trump said that ultimately he wanted to stop Iran from having the capacity to develop weapons that could be used to strike the U.S., Israel, or any U.S. allies. He also reiterated that Iran was preparing to strike U.S. allies and attempt to take over the Middle East if the United States had not acted first. Trump also said he spoke with Russian President Vladimir Putin on Monday regarding the settlement of conflicts in the Middle East and between Russia and Ukraine. He said Putin wants to be helpful with the situation in the Middle East and added that he told Putin that being helpful would be ending the war with Ukraine. Since the war started on February 28th, U.S. and Israeli strikes have hit military command centers, nuclear sites, missile and air defense facilities, and oil infrastructures, severely degrading Iran's military capabilities. Trump said he was disappointed with Iran's decision to appoint Mojtaba Khamenei, the son of the former Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, who was killed in an airstrike at the beginning of the war, as the new leader. He also warned Iran against further escalation and hinted at potential U.S. control over the Strait of Hormuz, a key route used for importing over 70% of South Korea's oil. Iran announced plans to expand missile range, power, and frequency as Iran's IRGC Aerospace Force commander Majid Musavi said missiles with warheads under 1,000 kilograms will no longer be launched, signaling a focus on heavier systems. Park Jun-an, Arirang News.
Oil prices and U.S. stocks swung sharply as markets reacted to developments in the Iran war and fears of supply disruptions. Prices later fell and stocks rebounded after the G7 signaled possible oil reserve releases, and U.S. President Donald Trump suggested the conflict was nearing an end. Our Lee Seung-jae has more.
Global oil markets and U.S. stocks swung sharply on Monday as investors reacted to developments in the Iran war. Oil prices initially surged on rising tensions in the Middle East. Brent crude briefly climbed to nearly $120 per barrel after reports that Turkey intercepted a ballistic missile launched from Iran using a NATO air defense system in the eastern Mediterranean. It was the second time Turkey shot down an Iranian missile this month, raising concerns about possible escalation involving a NATO member. However, prices later reversed after the group of 7 countries signaled a coordinated release of strategic oil reserves if supply disruptions worsen.
And we stand ready to take necessary measures such as stockpile release. G7 energy ministers will take this discussion forward already tomorrow.
You saw the French declaration that we are now also keeping open the option of drawing on national oil reserves. Now is not the right time, but we, including Germany, are open to doing so in a coordinated process at the appropriate time.
Following the announcement, Brent crude fell about 8% to around $84 per barrel, while U.S. benchmark West Texas Intermediate dropped by roughly 9% to about $81. The New York Stock Exchange saw similar volatility. Major indexes opened more than 1% lower, but rebounded after news of the possible G7 reserve release and comments from Trump suggesting the war was as good as over. During a phone interview with CBS News, Trump said the conflict was very complete, pretty much, claiming Iran's military capabilities have been largely destroyed, including its navy, communication systems, and air force. He added that Iran's remaining missiles are scattered and that its drones and drone manufacturing facilities are being destroyed across the country. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
Meanwhile, South Korean stocks rebounded sharply this morning, recovering from Monday's steep decline. The benchmark KOSPI surged at the opening bell, rising 248.63 points, or 4.73%, to surpass 5,500 points. The rapid ascent prompted the Korea Exchange to trigger a buy-side sidecar. Program trading was suspended for 5 minutes starting at 9:06 a.m. after the KOSPI 200 futures index moved 5% or more for at least 1 minute. The Korean won also made sharp gains against the U.S. dollar. Positive market movement follows remarks from U.S. President Donald Trump, who said U.S. operations against Iran could end soon. And President Lee Jae-myung has dismissed concerns that the possible relocation of U.S. forces Korean military assets overseas could weaken South Korea's deterrence against North Korea. Speaking at a cabinet meeting this morning, Lee said the government has expressed its opposition to the transfer, but acknowledged that it may not be able to fully prevent it. However, the president stressed there is no reason to worry about the country's defense posture, citing Seoul's high defense spending and military capabilities. His remarks follow local media reports that Patriot missile batteries stationed with U.S. forces Korea could be deployed to the Middle East. Senior U.S. diplomats are visiting Seoul this week to discuss alliance-related issues. Seoul's Foreign Ministry said U.S. Assistant Secretary of State for East Asian and Pacific Affairs, Michael DeSombri, will visit Korea from Wednesday to Sunday. During his visit, he's expected to meet with Korea's chief nuclear envoy, Chung Hyun-doo, as well as Deputy Minister Chung Ui-hae and Park Jung-han, the Director General for Economic Diplomacy Coordination. During talks with Director General Chung, the two are expected to discuss North Korea diplomacy. The visit comes ahead of U.S. President Donald Trump's visit to Beijing later this month. The two may also discuss the ongoing situation in the Middle East. In sports, South Korea advanced to the quarterfinals of the World Baseball Classic after defeating Australia 7-2 on Monday, escaping the opening round for the first time in 17 years. The Koreans entered the game needing a very specific result, beating Australia by at least 5 runs while allowing no more than 2. The offense delivered, highlighted by a strong performance from Moon Bo-kyung and capped by An Hyun-min's sacrifice fly in the 9th inning to secure the required margin. Finishing as runner-up in Pool C behind Japan, South Korea will face the winner of Pool D in the quarterfinals in Miami on Friday at 6:30 p.m. local time. Meanwhile, South Korea on Monday also began excavating the remains of South Korean soldiers killed during the Korean War. Work will be carried out at 34 sites across 22 cities and counties nationwide, including Paju and Yeoncheon, major battlefields from the war. This year, the Defense Ministry aims to find 200 remains, secure 10,000 gene samples from bereaved family members, and disclose the identities of 20 fallen soldiers. The ministry will also carry out international cooperation efforts, such as a joint excavation project with Australia and the mutual repatriation of remains with the United States. As wellness culture becomes more and more popular, young Koreans are turning to traditional healing practices. Moxibustion and rice enzyme spas are emerging as new experiential wellness spaces. Our Cho Young-in tells us more.
Opening the door, a slightly smoky herbal scent of mugwort fills the air. The shop specializes in traditional Korean Moxibustion therapy, which uses heat and smoke of burning mugwort. Customers lie on treatment beds, relaxing as the heated mugwort is first placed beneath their feet. The therapy continues with fumigation treatment along the back before mechanical Moxibustion devices are set on the stomach to deliver steady warmth.
My hands and feet tend to get cold, and I often feel tired. I heard mugwort Moxibustion is good for your health, so I looked for a place near my home and decided to try it.
Nearby, a rice enzyme spa, once mainly enjoyed by older generations, now offers another popular wellness experience for younger visitors. Here, people bury themselves in warm fermented rice bran, leaving only their faces exposed. The heat generated from fermentation is believed to help detoxify the body, improve blood circulation, and strengthen the immunity system.
In the past, most visitors were older people. But these days, many younger customers are coming too, after seeing it on social media or YouTube.
Spaces like this are redefining traditional therapy as a modern healing experience to recharge both the body and mind. Experts say the trend reflects how the digitally native generation treat traditional wellness practices as shareable experiences.
Nowadays, when people see something on social media that's said to be good for their health, they want to try it themselves. Experience-based consumption has become a major trend.
The relatively affordable price of these activities has helped them emerge as a cost-effective wellness experience. As younger generations explore new ways to care for their health, traditional health practices are finding new life in Korea today. 조영은, Arirang News.
A new movement in Seoul, a city famous for its fancy nightlife, is reclaiming the weekend, one sunrise at a time. Trading neon lights for morning mist and coffee instead of soju, young Koreans are finding a new way to connect through morning raves. Our Chung Il-im was there.
It's 9 a.m. on a Saturday. While the rest of the city is just waking up, this space is already filled with contagious energy. Let's take a look here at a morning rave in Seoul. This is the Seoul Morning Coffee Club, a community built around Seoul's growing morning culture, hosting group runs and coffee chats. At a rave SMCC hosted from 7 to 10 a.m. at a hotel rooftop bar in central Seoul, participants dance, chat, and some just vibe with the music. Instead of cocktails or soju, the bar serves fresh juice, coffee, and non-caffeinated drinks, offering a space to connect without the influence of alcohol. The concept mirrors a growing global trend, with similar morning dance events popping up in cities like London and Amsterdam.
Since there are so many people I don't know, I wondered if I could really enjoy myself without drinking. But now that I'm here, the atmosphere is great. Dancing and meeting people give me a lot of positive energy.
Yeah, I mean, I went both in the nightlife and in the morning life, so it's really different, but at the same time it's also nice to wake up early and make friends in a different environment, so I like it.
The atmosphere is relaxed and respectful, without the usual chaos of a night out, just people enjoying the music and each other's company. Club founder Park Jae-hyun says, in what many describe as a hyper-individualized society, this community provides a remedy for isolation, allowing people to form healthy bonds through shared activity rather than late-night drinking.
I'm a morning person, and because of that, I realized Korea doesn't have a lot of morning activities. I started by searching for cafes that open early and meeting people there. It turned into this huge community, and people seem to find comfort and feel less lonely through these morning interactions.
People always say they wish weekends were longer. If you choose to go out in the morning, it'll only be 10 a.m. when you get back home.
Korea was once dubbed as the land of the morning calm, but it's a different story for youngsters. For a growing number of young people, mornings are anything but calm. Chung Il-im, Arirang News.
This is The World Now, bringing you everything you need to know from around the globe. In Lebanon, around 700,000 people have been forced to flee their homes as fighting between Israel and Hezbollah enters its second week. The Lebanese Health Ministry reports that Israeli attacks have killed nearly 500 people. Airstrikes on Monday hit 5 branches of a Hezbollah-linked financial institution in Beirut's southern suburbs, following Israeli evacuation orders for the area. UNICEF confirms that the displaced in Lebanon include 200,000 children. Meanwhile, Hezbollah fired missiles towards central Israel, triggering air raid sirens in Tel Aviv and Jerusalem. In the U.S., federal prosecutors on Monday charged 2 Pennsylvania men with terrorism-related crimes following an attempted bombing near the New York City mayor's official residence. 18-year-old Emir Ballet and 19-year-old Ibrahim Kayumi traveled to Manhattan on Saturday to target an anti-Islam rally at Gracie Mansion. According to federal court records, both suspects cited the Islamic State as their inspiration and expressed intent to carry out a large-scale attack. Police intercepted the improvised explosive devices, which contained explosive substance TATP. Mayor Zohran Mamdani, who was not home during the incident, condemned the violence and said that New York City will not tolerate terrorism. AI giant Anthropic has filed a lawsuit to block the Pentagon from placing the company on a national security blacklist. The legal action on Monday follows Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth's decision to designate Anthropic as a supply chain risk after the company refused to remove guardrails against using its AI for autonomous weapons. Anthropic argues the designation violates its free speech and due process rights. The Pentagon maintains that U.S. law, not private companies, determines the use of AI for national defense. Los Angeles police arrested a 35-year-old woman on Monday after she allegedly fired a rifle at pop star Rihanna's gated estate. Authorities responded to reports of 10 gunshots in the Beverly Hills area on Sunday afternoon and recovered a weapon at the scene. Investigators found at least 5 bullet holes in the front gate of the property, though no injuries were reported. The suspect, identified in news reports as Ivana Ortiz, remains in custody on suspicion of attempted murder with bail set at $10 million. It remains unclear if Rihanna or her family were inside the residence at the time. Police have not yet established a motive or a known connection between the suspect and the pop star. Chu Ji-han, Arirang News.
Temperatures across most regions dropped below freezing this morning with some frost, but highs will rise fast during the day, creating a wide gap between morning and afternoon readings. And in some places, such as Chuncheon in the east of Gangwon-do province, the difference could exceed 15 degrees Celsius. And with such large temperature swings, it is important to take extra care to maintain your health and immune system. Air quality remains a concern across most regions, with ultrafine dust levels at a bad level, except for the east of Gangwon-do province and Jeju Island. And this afternoon, Seoul will be getting up to 9 degrees Celsius. Daegu, Gyeongju, Busan, Gwangju will all be topping out at 12 degrees under sunnier skies this afternoon. And toward the end of the week, daytime temperatures in Seoul are expected to climb above 10 degrees Celsius, bringing milder spring conditions, while rain is forecast mainly along the East Coast on Thursday and Friday.
Now that's all we have for today's noon edition of Arirang News. Thank you for watching. We'll be back at 5 p.m. Korea time. Stay tuned.